Hello and welcome back to Friday Night WrestleCast. This is the Saturday edition of. I mean, we might just stop calling it Friday Night because we're just gonna do this at a moment's notice whenever we feel like we've got that itch to discuss things. And this is gonna be centered around Extreme Rules, but we will have other wrestling programs that we'll want to discuss. But before we get into all that, I want to introduce my co-pilot, my buddy, um, Dana Abercrombie. I got no other jokes to say. Dana, how
You have
are
no
you?
other jokes. Okay. I am doing great. Excited. We had a long wrestling week. I had a longer wrestling week because I got to see the roads to the top and talk to the Cody Rhodes and the Brandy Rhodes and the Tony Khan. So, yay to that. But I'm
Yeah.
excited for this week. I don't know how Extreme Rules will be, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and not only were you able to get those interviews, which we should all check out, but as you know, AEW had Grand Slam this week, which we did the prediction show for recently.
Hmm.
Dana, what did you think of Grand Slam?
I thought, oh my goodness, it was so good, and I love the fact that because I didn't know that they filmed it back to back,
Hmm.
so it was 4 hours straight for them, which was fine. But the fact that the crowd and the energy was still going for 4 hours, because it's not like you're just watching for 4 hours. You remember you have to put in travel time, you got to get the drinks, the concessions, whether or not you're standing, you're buying something, you got to pee, take a poop, whatever it is. So all the whole time, it's longer than 4 hours. But that crowd was really hot. The matches were good. There were some things that I loved. The Kenny Omega and Brian Danielson match, that was just, whew, I think that was the number one main thing. And then you had like the downsides with Brandy and Cody and Aleister Black. Aleister Black was great, but it's like, there goes Cody. And then I don't know what Brandy was trying to do in that ring with the sitting down thing. She wasn't delivering what she thought she did. So we could have not had that. But she's back, so that's great. That means there's another person on the women's card that will be fighting for the whole belt. And from what I know, what she told me is that she's gonna fight from the ground up. She's not just because I am someone's wife, I'm gonna be the champion right away. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna work her way to get to the roads to the top. Plug in. But other than that, no, the show was really great. Rampage was really good as well. I just loved each match. I loved how it flowed so far. It was just really, really good. And then it being in New York City, they made it to be such a big, grand spectacle. And it felt like a spectacle. So it was nothing like having something that they live up to. And you got to see CM Punk. I will say that maybe it's me, and maybe I'm the only one who feels this way, but it kind of felt like he was struggling a little bit with the conditioning aspect. He looked like he got tired a little bit. And, to his credit, it's Hobbs. It's not like you're fighting someone the size of Marco Stunt or an Orange Cassidy. Hobbs is he's like a Brian Cage. So him wrestling him and fighting him and taking those power slams and just the sheer weight of it all and him lifting him up, like that's really great. But he was out of breath, understandably. It felt like like a realistic match, like the skinny guy against the refrigerator, essentially. So overall, I thought it was really good. What about you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was excellent, and I shared a lot of the similar thoughts as you. Like, for example, I didn't know that they were going to tape Rampage. I guess that's something that I should have picked up on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Makes sense for them to do that, so it's all in one shot, and they can do that. Um, but yeah, it's great to have a weekly show that feels like a big deal, and like this had a big pay-per-view feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's hard to get that feel for wrestling these days. So for AEW to pull that off is just amazing. I, I I was shocked that they had the most anticipated match, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, as the very first match that they did in the series. They had the very first match, and
Mm-hmm.
it made sense that they did it in retrospect because everyone there is hyped up. They've got all this energy, and it was a half-hour match, but everyone had the energy to sit through it and everything. or stand. From what I hear, a lot of people were standing the whole time.
Because it was
And,
such a good match.
And I'm gonna say that I can't remember a better match that ended in a draw that I've ever seen. I can't think of one.
Wasn't there the Iron Man match, but it never ended in a draw? Like Austin just passed out in the ring.
You're talking about Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania?
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was just Austin passed out, and so Bret won that way. So that didn't end in a draw. It was. You might be thinking of the Iron Man match between Bret and Shawn Michaels that had a draw and went into overtime, and Shawn Michaels won that one. Yeah. So like I'm talking about like there was no conclusion that it ended in a draw. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of great matches in history, but there's none that I can think of off the top of my head that tops what I saw there. Because, and that's no surprise to me because Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson are two of the very best on the planet. You know, so and they were giving it their all. So I big respect to them for that. They weren't just half-assing it, doing a 5-minute Raw match, or with ending in disqualification, the kind of thing that we usually see. They actually delivered the goods, and it's rare that I sit through a match that long that doesn't have a conclusion, and that I still feel satisfied from it. And that's what that match did. But this obviously wasn't the only match in the card. There was a lot of other matches. We mentioned the Malachi and Cody match, and I'm telling you, the crowd just is not feeling the Rhodes family right now. They've turned against them. And I don't
know why.
They're just so corny to me. I mean, that their act is just kind of corny. Like the thing that made me roll my eyes is the whole thing of Cody pretending that he was going to retire, that he was going to take off his boots and leave them in the ring, and Malachi attacked him. Like, give me a break. You're not freaking retiring. Stop with this.
I was happy.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you guys should be happy that Malachi attacked them. Like, okay, you're not going anywhere. You're not retiring. But I don't think this worked out the way they expected it to. I think that they were hoping that Malachi was going to get the heat for this, the heel heat and everything, and it's been quite the opposite. It's almost like the fans have done a double turn on them in that regard. Not that the fans have ever turned against Malachi Black; they've always loved him. But I felt like the fans were behind Cody, was behind Cody up to a point, but now it's just like, dude, no, something needs to change there. So
something just wasn't right.
It just wasn't right.
It doesn't click anymore. It's kind of, you could say it's sad in that way, because I remember like everything that Cody's been through, from saying I am leaving the WWE and making that list and actually checking the list off, and him being able to do different shows. Like, granted, this is a kid who comes from nothing. He's a dynasty, so people helped him along the way. But the fact that he was able to go out there, have these matches, and then get involved with Tony Khan, that's admirable. But somehow along that way, I think, I hate to say you overstayed your welcome in your own company, but he just stopped clicking. And then for me, like you said, it was for once he started putting the boots in the ring and saying I'm retired. For me, it was that speech. When he remember that speech about, and this is my daughter, and I'm like, I understand what you're trying to do.
Against Anthony Bogo, I think it was.
Gogo.
Gogo, yeah.
And I'm like, I get it, but no, it's not working.
It was like I thought you were getting to a point, and then then Cody, you lost us at some point there, and it's like, I don't know if I like where this is trending, and but it's just like I like this whole like anti-American thing is so played out. Like, that's a totally WWE thing. Like, there's so many old school played out things that Cody does that the rest of the roster doesn't do. And he stands out like a sore thumb in that regard. And that's the thing. And I think that's probably why, like, there have been talks about there being creative differences between him and some of the other executives or what have you. So I could totally see that. It's almost like, even though Cody is of that generation, mentally as a wrestler, like, he's of his father's generation in that regard. Like he has an old school kind of approach to things that doesn't quite click with what AEW seems to be doing. I mean, it's nice to be able to offer some of that, maybe for the fans that appeals to, but it's not. I don't know. It's something's a little off there. But
I'm happy that Malachi won, though. I think that would have angered more people if Cody lost.
Well, that surprised me that he won. But and of course, like he had to win by cheating. But that's another old school thing there. But Malachi did win, and
the fans were like, "Yay!"
They popped for that. Speaking of pop, before we continue, man, just the pop that the fans gave. Going back to the Danielson Omega match, just the pop that the fans gave when the bell rang was just like the hairs were standing on my arm, just like that's awesome. Like like it was the same kind of vibe that I felt when the Shield and the Wyatt family had their match. I believe that was also an Extreme Rules match, like 2014. And they were in the ring. They were just standing in the ring, looking at each other, and the crowd was already losing their minds and saying, "This is awesome." We've never seen that happen before, and that same kind of like thing where the fans knew they're about to watch something special. You don't get that much. You really don't. So it's like this was great. That was great to see. I wanted to chime in on the Punk match with Hobbs. It's exactly what you said, that they're talking about two different styles where Hobbs is he's a powerhouse. That's his name. And Punk is more of a lightweight, and just there was definitely some ring rust there for Punk. And I even felt like his elbow drop from the top was more of a fall than a jump.
He was tired.
Yeah. and but it was cool to see that again for the first time in years and all that. He definitely, like, I'm sure he does some conditioning, but there's something about like having those instincts in the ring that you kind of need to get those back, and he's working through it, and I'm glad to see it. And that they're not putting him right away against like a main event person. You know what I mean? Like Darby's on the cusp of that, but Hobbs is not there yet. But it's good that Hobbs got to showcase, and exactly like I said, it was interference from Hook that turned that match around. That allowed Punk to get the victory. That's the way to do it. Don't have Punk win completely clean. There has to be some kind of stuff happening going on there.
And it was good to see Sting still alive and kicking, and his back wasn't broken.
Yeah. What do you think of Homicide showing up in that lights out match?
I liked it. I didn't predict that. I was like, what is this? Like, I had to actually go in the Rolodex and be like, wait, hold up. Wait. Oh, okay!
Yeah, that was really cool. I'll admit that I know very little about Homicide other than the fact that he and Eddie Kingston go way back. And but as soon as he came out, I thought that was very cool. Moxley and Kingston won the match. That also surprised me. I thought that maybe they'd give the Suzuki-gun the victory, but then again, the fact that they had this be the very last match at Grand Slam, you got to send the fans home happy. So
I think fans wouldn't have cared either way. I personally wanted Suzuki to win because we know him as a murderer. So I wanted my murder, but I didn't get my murder. But it was still a very good match.
Well, that's the other thing, is that, like, as big a fan as I am of Moxley, there would be no shame in losing to Suzuki and Archer in this. And I felt that if you're going to have this, partnership with New Japan, you got to put over some of the wrestlers at some point.
Thank you.
Maybe that's what they're planning to do when Moxley eventually goes against Tanahashi. Yeah. Ibushi, they gotta save him for Kenny Omega.
Like, I want them to turn and the Golden Lovers like break up, and it's like tragical, and they do the whole "I love you" thing and kick him in the face.
Oh, they gotta do all that. I'm afraid that whole thing will last 2 or 3 years before they actually have the match. But we'll see. We'll see if it ever comes to that. But yeah, Grand Slam was excellent. AEW, please do more things like that.
But not all the time. I cannot
no,
sit through 4 hours. Maybe let's do
not,
it twice a year.
not all the time because yeah, it'll take out the novelty of it. So it's like just every once in a while, give us a little bit, like a Fighter Fest type of thing.
It's too much.
But yeah, so that was cool. I did also want to touch upon two. I know that this is an Extreme Rules prediction show, but there's a lot that we didn't talk about that I just kind of want to mention before we get into that. And Big E being the WWE champion, successful cashing in Money in the Bank. So happy for him. I was hoping that he was going to do it on Roman Reigns because I want him to stay on SmackDown, but there's the fact that this draft, I guess, is happening next week. And and they're calling it a draft. They're not doing the roster shakeup or whatever they
spoiled their own draft, but
yeah,
okay,
pretty much. But yeah, but yeah, I'm just very happy to see Big E with the championship, and it needs to be said that it's about time that there's more representation of black wrestlers as world champion, because you remember it was Bobby Lashley, your favorite wrestler, who Big E won that belt off of. So it was like the first time ever.
Black on black crime.
That first time, you said it, not me. The first time ever that title, the WWE Championship, the championship of the company, was transitioned from one black wrestler to another. Because you've had The Rock hold it. You've had
no, because you had Sasha and then Bianca.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the men's. On the men's side.
That was historic. Michael Cole said black with his whole chest.
Oh yeah. It's like an all black, all female main event WrestleMania.
It's the first time two black. I said, oh.
Yeah, it's like
with the K in black.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, but yeah, no, I think it's great. Like again, like for Big E, I was happy when Kofi won it. And it's good to see that. And we need to see more of it. Where very talented, deserving wrestlers of color will get their moment in the sun. And so, and Big E has been such a revelation, ever since he's gone solo. I mean, he was already growing as part of the New Day, but just seeing him on his own and flourishing and being so easy to root for, I love it. I absolutely love it. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then there was one other piece of thing that, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on it right now. I'm blanking on it. No. So we talked about Grand Slam. I mentioned Big E, and there was something else, and it's killing me right now because I can't think of it. Oh, this is awkward.
We can go back to it. You gotta write down your notes now.
I gotta write my notes. This is exactly the thing. I'm hosting this show, and yet I have not done the notes. I'm going and winging this. I said I was gonna wing it, and we started. This is where we are. We just do it like that. So
come on, MJF.
So here's what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the predictions, and if this pops up in my mind as we go along, I might interrupt and be like, "Hang on, I just remembered what it is."
I remembered.
Okay, so Extreme Rules.
Yes.
We've got 6 matches on the card. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get more than 6. There's probably gonna be about 2 unannounced matches that are going to be thrown in last minute that we don't know about. That seems to be a WWE thing to do. But this is the 6 that we are aware of at the moment. And so we were going to go down each one of these, make our predictions, have some thoughts, and see where we go from there. So I'm going to start Morgan versus Carmella. It's a singles match. Dana, would you like to go first?
WWE has somehow, they're trying, but it's really hard for me to, I I miss Carmella with R-Truth. So
Yeah.
and all, it just seems like they're flopping around with Carmella, and with Liv Morgan, they are giving her a nice push eventually. So I do feel like I want to root for Liv Morgan. She, rooted hard for her to be in these matches and to get her TV time, and so I really want Liv Morgan to win.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, Carmella's had her push before. I feel it's felt like for at least the past year or two that WWE has plans for Liv to do something with her, but then they don't quite really commit to it. It's
We
like
heard that with everyone.
it's yeah, and it's like, okay, like, like, because like you had like she split from the Riot Squad, then they brought the Riot Squad back together, and then it's like, okay, well, Liv's on her own
now.
again. Yeah, and it's like, all right, so are they gonna push Liv or not? And just not sure that they're gonna do that. But this match between her and Carmella, they haven't given me reason to have faith in Liv. So I'm gonna say Carmella wins.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I understand that. I completely agree with that. I think I'm being a little bit too positive when I say Liv Morgan. But it would be nice if Liv Morgan did win. But I can understand completely them going with Carmella. They seem to be behind Carmella, way more than any of especially Liv Morgan. But
Yeah.
and Vince McMahon likes the sketches and things that he puts her in. So yeah, you remember what it is.
I remember what it is. I actually wanted to get your thoughts on NXT 2.0.
Here's the thing. Do you remember Double Dare?
Yes.
Nickelodeon's Double Dare. And you remember
The
American
slime slide and everything. Yeah,
Slime.
going through the nose and all that stuff. Oh, I remember all that.
And you remember American Gladiator, the original one, when they got up there and they're like fighting with the little things?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what it looks like. It reminds me of a game show set. And it just so happens to be wrestling. It also reminds me that remember Splatoon, the video game that was like the Nickelodeon thing? It's basically a combination of that. Splatoon with some Nickelodeon shows from the 90s. But in terms of the actual wrestling, they're showing you really, really green people. And NXT kind of spoiled us with, yes, they're green, but they're good. And by erasing people who are actual wrestlers, remember WWE is like, we don't care what you can do, just as long as you're under 30 and you're big. It kind of takes away from the wrestling and just makes me feel like I'm on a Nickelodeon resort and I'm gonna go check out a wrestling show. Yeah, I understand wanting to give really green people that the show time and give them TV time, but at the same time, a majority of them are not good yet. The matches are sloppy. The monologues go on for too long. You see, it really feels like it's unauthentic sometimes. Like, here's the script. We're going to go and put on the show now. Remember like when you're like a little kid, Mommy, I got a show. And you and like, I don't know, your brother or sister get together and like do a skit. That's what it kind of feels like to me. It's really nice watching people go from, I don't want to say nothing, but completely green and don't know what wrestling is, to see them eventually kind of become the big star in wrestling. But the problem is this, it's so manufactured. I don't see an identity. And then you have someone who is the son of Rick Steiner and the uncle of, is it did I get the right order? Scott Steiner, or is it?
Yeah, Scott Steiner is the uncle. And,
okay, so the uncle of Scott Steiner. I mean, you have someone who's the nephew of Scott Steiner and the son of Rick Steiner, and this is what Breaker is what you give me. I can understand if you don't want to use the name, but the problem is you're giving these people names that are just ridiculous. Remember, they changed Keith Lee to Bearcat. Was it Bearcat or was it Bear Claw?
They changed his name?
Yes, they changed his name.
You're
It's
kidding
Keith.
me.
You didn't know this?
I didn't know this. This is how out of the loop I am. As
Because
I host a WWE prediction show, I'm out of the loop. They've made Keith Lee into Bear Claw?
we're it's. I think it's. Yeah, we're really flying.
You gotta be shitting me right now. Hold
No,
on one second.
no.
Hold on a second.
You didn't know this? This was like a
No.
thing for a while, and people were like kind of angry about this.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about that. So, but I'll take your word for it. That's absolutely ridiculous. But
Yeah, he gets a
I,
new name.
I want to
It's Keith Bearcat Lee.
Bearcat.
Yeah,
Okay.
happened a while ago. A while ago. The 21st of September.
Clearly, I didn't remember.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
See
Do
what
you
I did
remember?
there?
Ha! You're smart. But yeah, no. So I just think that it has the potential to be good. It's just that you took something that was gritty and felt like, oh, remember how it felt like it was supposed to be what Raw Underground was aiming for.
Yes.
And then you put this, and I feel like this is something I can bring my 6-year-old niece and nephews to go see, and then we'll go on the roller coaster later on. This is our wind down time after we had some food because we can't go on a roller coaster yet because we're gonna vomit everywhere.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah, you make some excellent points there, and I feel as though, yeah, that was my impression that they're emphasizing their greener talents, their more moldable ones that don't have as much of a background in pro wrestling, and that they could make into your prototypical
Right.
superstar, you could say.
And that's
And
fine. It's just
it's fine, and the thing is that it's actually intriguing. But
mhm.
it's the wrong platform to do it on. You don't do it on cable television because people don't give a shit about
Mhm.
watching very raw green developmental talent on these shows that are, like you said, are still a work in progress. This is something that should be on Peacock or WWE Network,
Tough
you know,
enough.
like the way it was before. And the thing was that because I used to watch, like way back when I discovered who Dean Ambrose was, I looked up as many episodes of Florida Championship Wrestling that I possibly could, because that was part of their developmental. This was before NXT, and you had this in like a small warehouse in Tampa, and they had like 30 people in the audience. You know, it's a very small, very intimate setting, and you got to see wrestlers of all skills, from the indie darlings to the really raw uh, green types, get to get to show what they can do. But it was very endearing. It was nice to see. And the problem with NXT 2.0 is that it comes with the actually, hold on one second. Hearing like extra background noise. Okay. All right. So what I was gonna say was that it's that the problem with the way they presented NXT 2.0 is that it's the promise of this exciting wrestling show, but you're doing it. You're showing the rookies doing their thing to too big of an audience. I feel like cable television is not the way to go about it, and it's like, to me, it's like the NXT on USA experiment has failed, and they're doing this because they're stuck with it because they probably already had the contract done and all that. It should be on the network. It should be on streaming, for people who really really want to watch it. Because I don't know what the ratings are going to look like for NXT 2.0 or whatever. It's a good premise, again, just the wrong platform to do it. And yeah, like you said, like it feels like it was filmed live at Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. That same kind of vibe. And I'm not sure, like they went away from the whole black and gold theme that they had, that was kind of more gritty and everything, to like, we're colorful, we're fun, we don't know what to expect. And I felt like, even like
Vince is going blind. He has to see colors.
that, it's like, yeah, it's like, make sure that like you don't get a seizure from all the different colors that come out and all that stuff.
And it's also the lighting. I'm like, and people who are photosensitive are like, give us a warning.
It's a sensory overload. Absolutely. I think that's the thing. It's absolutely a sensory overload, and it's very distracting. And that's why, like, you don't want to make things completely muted, but like, I felt they went the complete opposite way, like too much color, way too much. And so, and I don't know, like, I'm not in that regard, I'm not feeling it. So I don't watch NXT much anyway. So, but I will say this, that for their first episode of 2.0, to not have the NXT title be the main event, and instead they had a wedding segment, was kind of ridiculous. And I understand they did this wedding segment because they wanted to feature all these unknown wrestlers and show their personalities and all that other stuff. But it left me sad, because like Dexter Lumis was my favorite prospect in NXT.
Watch him in TNA, because just not TNA. What do they call it? Impact.
Impact, yeah.
Can't call it
yeah. I mean, it's hard to call him a prospect considering he's like 36 or 37. But
what's wrong with the 36 and the 37? You sound like Vince. You want to get rid of him?
No, I'm not saying that. It's just more like, like the same way like Damian Priest would consider it a prospect, and he was in the upper 30s as well. But it's like, these are guys that, Dexter Lumis is not a green wrestler. He was very experienced and very talented, and I thought he was owning the gimmick, and he's doing the best he can with it right now. I thought like the whole thing with him revealing the hatchet was hilarious, but otherwise, like, I don't know I don't like what they're going with this character at the moment. So
he spoke 2 words. He said, "I do." Oh, ground chuck.
Yeah. But that's NXT 2.0. It much like its talent, it's a work in progress.
Ooh, the shade.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that USA is the best place to be showcasing that, but
$1 billion. You got to put something on there.
Hopefully they prove me wrong, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Let's move on to, let's go back to Extreme Rules. And let's go with the next match. We have, okay, so the Liv Morgan Carmella match is the only non-title match on the card at the moment. The remaining 5 all have a belt on the line. So we'll start with the tag team match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, featuring the Street Profits, Angel Dawkins, Montez Ford, going up against the reigning champions, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso. I'm gonna say the Usos. I'm gonna say the Usos retain, for the same reason why I felt that they were gonna retain the last time they defended it, because they have this whole thing with the bloodline all being champions, and I don't think that the Usos are gonna drop it until shortly before Roman drops his belt, and that I'm gonna go into all that later. But for now, I see the Usos retaining, but there's gonna be some fuckery to retain it. That's my prediction. How about you?
This is a match we've never seen before. Does that mean?
Yeah. Okay, now I can't hear you at all. Oh, now I can certainly do. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so this is
we're gonna rename this WrestleCast 2.0. Continue.
So this is a match obviously we have never seen before. So wonder how this is gonna play out. Yeah, the Usos retain, even though I love the Street Profits a bunch, but they kind of need that. But I can't even say they need that push. They're basically even at this point. So I'm gonna just have to go with the Usos retain. I just wish that we had matches that we haven't seen thousands of times before. You know?
Well, so here's the thing: is that like this is where making comparisons between companies like WWE and AEW. This is where AEW gets it right that they don't have a pay-per-view every month.
That
They
is true.
split it up. I believe they have like 4, maybe 5 pay-per-views a year, and they split it up just right because every pay-per-view feels like it's important, like it's a big deal, because you give these feuds enough time to build up to where you want to see how it plays out. Whereas when you have a pay-per-view once a month or sometimes twice a month in WWE's case, you're kind of fast forwarding through things and just being like, you just looked at me the wrong way and now we're gonna fight and that's it. And that's the so like Extreme Rules doesn't feel like an important pay-per-view. Even though we are talking about it right now,
Right.
it doesn't feel like what happens on this show is going to be significant. It doesn't have the same kind of oomph to it that like SummerSlam would, for example. So it's like in that regard, like the Street Profits, I think they're building them up to eventually get those titles. It's just not going to happen yet. They're gonna have them come up short and have you want them to finally, beat the Usos. And let the Usos get a little bit more cocky and everything. Similar to how in AEW the Young Bucks were insufferable as champions, and they made it so that when they finally lost, it was a highly satisfying thing. So that might be something that they're going to build towards here. And I say that as someone that has respect and likes both tag teams. Like, granted, I've not been the biggest fans of Street Profits before, just because I felt like they were like overexposed and kind of cheesy and everything like that. But I'm starting to like them on SmackDown. I think maybe where they are makes a big difference there. So I'd like to see them eventually get those tag belts. I just don't think it's going to happen right away.
Good. Here's the.
You're muted.
You can make the argument that the Street Profits will kind of win because if you look at going into the match, they beat the Usos twice. And this is kind of why I don't understand when you have someone face each other 15,000 times on a regular show weekly, and then on a big pay-per-view, it's supposed to be this big thing. Well, I'm going to challenge you for the belt. And I'm like, I just watched you wrestle 3 times already. I don't understand. I remember how they would do the number one's contender. And then you would have to go and defeat the actual champion. And then have a match where you have to defeat the champion. So that, I think, is what's taking a lot of the lackluster, also combined with what you said. There's a pay-per-view every month. And you don't necessarily need that. I think, as you said, save it for the big matches. Remember back in the day, there used to be 4 big pay-per-views. You had the SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble, the Great American Bash, and
it's Royal Rumble, WrestleMania,
yes,
SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those were the 4. And you can argue that Money in the Bank became the 5th one once that got introduced.
Back in my day, we had Great American Bash.
That was WCW.
No, Great American Bash was WWE. Oh,
once they acquired it, right.
Yeah, I remember that was fun because I got slippers. Anyway, but like I think that you would be so much better with just like pick 4 or 5 major pay-per-views and go on from there because they defeated them already, and it's the same thing over and over, and it doesn't really feel like the belts matter anymore. Remember back then when it used to matter and it was a big show of it? Now it's just like, let me go face you again. And it also feels like they don't have anyone on their roster. But the fact is they have plenty of people that they can mix and match and choose from. And I guess you can say, oh, that's what the draft is for. But even the people that is on, say, a SmackDown respectively or Raw respectively, it's the same matches over and over again. Give Billy Bob, I don't know, McIntyre, not Drew McIntyre, but I don't know, his wayward cousin, a match as well. Like, switch it up. And I do, that's, in a weird way, that's kind of what I like about 2.0 NXT, because you have all of these new guys and you have them speaking alongside with the Dexter Lumises and the Pete Dunne, which we know is now there, and the Johnny Gargano. It that has its own problem because it kind of feels like the big names are now just stuck in the back doing skits. But the point is, mix and match some things. Let's see different matches because it just doesn't. It feels watered down at this point. But I guess going with that theory, I'm going to change my theory to be the Street Profits win because hopefully third time's a charm.
I can see that. I was as you were talking, I was just thinking about something that like light bulb went on in my head when you're talking about like how redundant some of these matches are. That we've seen these same matches over and over on these weekly shows. So when it comes to the pay-per-view, it's like, well, I'm not really looking forward to it because I've already seen it. I already know what they're going to do, and all that stuff. And going into the point that we were talking about, the fact that they're having a pay-per-view every month, they're painting themselves into a corner as far as how they book these things. Because like you said, they have this huge roster of many great talents that they just don't use. And the reason why they're not using so many of them is because every show is just a vehicle for the pay-per-view. It's meant to push the pay-per-view. So whatever pay-per-view is coming up, those shows, those Raws and SmackDowns are to build up matches that are going to happen in the pay-per-view. And so if you're not part of the plan of the pay-per-view, they leave you in catering. They don't care about you. You're not in the picture. And that's the problem. They don't mix things up. If you have these pay-per-views happen months between each other, instead of having them happen every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, you have a chance to rotate the talent where 1 week, I'll give an example. I remember in early 2011, I believe, this was before Punk did the famous pipe bomb promo. I was an off and on wrestling watcher, and I heard about how great CM Punk was, but I would tune into Raw and he wouldn't show at all. And it's like, he's so good. Why are they not showing him? And it's because they had nothing for him for the upcoming pay-per-view. And it's like stuff like that should not happen. What should be happening is that, yes, you'll have 1 week that you don't see Punk, but then you see him the next week. And it'll be in place of John Cena. You don't see him because maybe the crowd will get him in a dark match afterwards. But you want to be able to rotate your roster so that even if you have like an A group, a B group, a C group, you'll be able to rotate and see them all. So that they all get their chance. And the problem is that if you're not expected to be on the pay-per-view card, they don't care about you. They have nothing for you. And that's why we get these redundant matches. That's why we get these matches where it's like a one-on-one at the pay-per-view, but the week before in the go-home show, they have a tag match where participants in both singles matches are tagging up together, and then you have the challenger pin the champion, and you go, oh my God, they pinned the champion. Well, it doesn't mean shit because they didn't win the belt, and now you just gave away that they're not going to win the belt because it's 50-50 booking.
You do remember Nikki Ash? She beat Charlotte Flair like what, 5 times?
Oh, did she? Because again, like that's Raw. I don't watch Raw that much.
Yeah, Raw.
It's a 3-hour show. It's a labor to watch. It's a labor to sit through. I'm sorry, it is. It's an absolute labor to sit through. It was a big mistake that they went to 3 hours.
Oh, that was a while ago.
It was what, like, at this point it's been 9 years, right? I believe. I think it was 2000.
Almost 10. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be 10. That's unbelievable. And to think, I was actually excited for that because I thought, yay, an extra hour. So now there'll be time for more wrestlers to appear and more. And nope. It just means that we'll see the same wrestler appear 3 times on the same show. That's what that meant. Like seeing like the freaking oh my God, the Hurt Business. I'm so glad that they're not a thing anymore because
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I'm so glad they're not a thing. Now granted,
Squeeze me?
Bobby Lashley and MVP are still a thing. so you still have them.
Wow, we need the Hurt Business because we need tags and we need factions, or we're stuck with Street Profits and Usos 80,000 times. And you said no to the Hurt Business? Wow.
They were just overexposed to
Mm,
me. It's like we're just not going to show anyone else. And then I understand that they were shorter handed than usual because of the pandemic, and so they had to work with who they had. But like I felt like it was the MVP show or the Bobby Lashley show to the point where I'm just like, no,
you're
thank you.
complaining about your Lord and Savior, Bobby Lashley? Wow.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Wow.
But let's move on. So that was the tag match for the
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown Championship. The remaining 4 matches are all singles. Let's go with Charlotte Flair defending her Raw Women's Championship against Alexa Bliss. Ladies first.
I am genuinely tired of Charlotte Flair. This is a Charlotte Flair fatigue, and that's also what happens when you have the same things over and over again. You have a fatigue after a while. Doesn't mean that you're bad. It just means that there's too much of you. I would love for her to just, go and live life a little bit. Go be with Andrade. Check up on your dad, because yeah, what he's doing on Twitter, he needs a hug right now, or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not getting into that. That is the dark side of darkness that we're not going to touch. I'm sorry. It's not. I'm not laughing at the situation. It's just the aftermath of
It's
how he's
TMI.
handling
That's
it.
what it is. Yes.
The aftermath of how he's handling it is just not okay. So I think that I would love Alexa Bliss to win because I just need something new and refreshing. And Alexa has been there, and it's not Alexa's fault with the whole gimmick situation and with Bray Wyatt. I do, however, feel that she needs that come ups. This is something that she needed for a while. She wasn't always great, but she was always good, and she's consistent, and she's there. But I think that it's time to kind of really let her shine, to let her win something, and to not just carry around and have that gimmick. Have something behind the gimmick, or you just become like a sideshow after a while. Like, oh, you just run out there with the doll and people are hypnotized, but what? You have no kind of not to say you don't have any power, but it just feels like it's way too gimmicky. I need you to back up that gimmick with, like, yeah, I can be that wrestler. So I think that she needs to win. Will WWE pull that thing with her? No. So Charlotte will win again, and then we'll get the whole, I don't know. Then the draft situation will come. Maybe Nikki will be, not Nikki. Sorry, Alexa will be drafted.
Could see that. I had to think about this because I am.
Hmm.
I'm in the same boat as you, where I respect them both as
Hmm.
talents,
Hmm.
but I've experienced fatigue from both of them when they get the rocket strapped to them. And Charlotte doesn't need to be having a belt right now. She's had it like so
She's
many
way
times.
over.
And the thing with Alexa Bliss, like you said, it's not her fault that she had the Fiend gimmick thrown onto her. Um, but whatever role she's been asked to do, whether it's a frozen, gimmick
Hmm.
in NXT, or being a manager, or going in and standing on her own and being a talent, or being a sidekick to Bray Wyatt, to becoming the female Bray Wyatt practically. She has done everything she's been excellent at all of it. She she really knows how to like own the character that she's been asked to do. So I give her credit in that regard. That she's making out the absolute most of the situation. And I feel as though that for that reason they may actually have her win the belt, because it would be a way of rewarding her for inheriting this gimmick of being like, okay, like we've had you change up your gimmick last year, the whole thing with Braun and the Fiend and everything. We put you in the middle of that. Now we gave you these powers, and you're killing it every time. And so we want to reward you by giving you, a championship, that kind of thing. So I feel that that's what's going to happen. So I predict that in an upset, Alexa Bliss will win the Raw Women's Championship.
Do you see this in any way of them punishing this daughter for the father's sins that they knew about and kind of promoted because they made a cartoon about it? Because he's gone from everything.
That's actually a very interesting point as well. They've pretty much they've done they've given him the Benoit treatment, where they took him out of the opening. They don't have the woo that you get and everything. It's
merchandise.
To steal Bobby Heenan's quote, it's not fair to Flair. In this case, Charlotte.
Yes.
It's not fair that she would be punished, but it's WWE, and they've done more petty things before. So
they'll just call her Charlotte. They'll drop the Flair.
But I'm going to say that if Alexa does win, some people may get this may take it the wrong way and think that, they're punishing her because of her father. I don't think that's going to be the case. Because you have to remember that, like, Triple H is still part of the company, and he loves Rick, and all that. So they're not going to just.
They really poo-pooed him.
They
took down his image, his merchandise, the woo. I'm pretty sure at this point it'll just be Charlotte. We won't even get a last name, probably.
That I wouldn't rule that out as far as them like giving her just the first name Charlotte like they did before. But I don't think that Charlotte loses. I don't think it's because of her father. I think it's just that I think this is just rewarding Alexa for the work that she's put in. So that's where I'm going with that. Okay. We got a United States Championship triple threat match. The reigning champion Damian Priest will be defending against Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Dana, please go first here.
This is just sadness. And the reason why I'm like aspirated and having an asthma attack in the corner of sadness is because Jeff Hardy, who we know as like a wrestling icon, him and his brother, whatever, they had him not just weeks ago wrestling for the 24/7 title, literally running around chasing the 24/7 title. And
sad. That's sad.
It's beyond sad because we know what he's capable of. And they've done this to plenty of other wrestlers who we know who was capable of. It just never made it out of the hole that they stuck them in. Remember at one point, EC3 was like in the elevator waiting to go and do the 24/7. They did the whole thing with the elevator. And we're just sitting here like, okay, like why? At this point. And so it seems like it's one of those things with Jeff Hardy. And we had the Sheamus situation. Remember, they had the whole "you old drunk" storyline between him and Sheamus.
And the junkie.
That's right. You're the junkie. Look at you little junkie. And Jeff Hardy did an interview where it was just the saddest thing. And I'm not going to say he is sad because I don't know what he is inside. And he's not saying. But he's like, I show up to work and I work. And it just seemed like lifeless. He could be having a great time, but he's like, I show up to work, and I work.
Does what's asked of him. Yeah.
I do what's asked of me, and then I go home. Maybe this whole thing keeps him sober. I don't know, but they don't seem to know what they want to do. Damian Priest, it just seems like they just all threw it in there together. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to go with the Damian Priest. He retains, but this is just like. This is a match that should have never happened to begin with, but it's weird. They all deserve the match, but just what they was doing in between the matches just made it seem like this was randomly thrown together.
Yeah.
It wasn't executed right. They all are deserving of this match. But again, it felt like it was like here, here, here. They just randomly picked 3 people, and you have a match. But I'm gonna go with Damian Priest retaining.
Yeah, the sense I have is like, you mentioned the Jeff Hardy and Sheamus having that feud and all that. It feels like they almost cancel each other out in this match, and that Damian Priest would take advantage of it. When you have a triple threat match, it's usually for one of 2 reasons. You're either going to have the champion retain and have like those other 2 wrestlers cancel each other out, or it's done so that the champion will lose the belt without being pinned. Um, you know, there are exceptions to that, but that's usually how it goes. I think that in this case, that this is more of a filler, and that it's meant to enhance Damian Priest. Like, he beat the odds of going against not 1 but 2 competitors, and I think that's good because I want to see Priest get pushed. I want to see him have more like successful defenses of the United States Championship. I want that belt to be propped up to the level that the Intercontinental Championship used to represent, in the old days. And for that matter, the Intercontinental Championship, I want that to be. I want there to be like 2 Intercontinental Championships, 2 workers belts, or like workers belts, or like on the cusp of main event type of thing.
Right.
But it feels more like the European belt, where it was like a step below, where it was just like you're strictly mid card, and that's that.
It's the FTW belt.
Yes, that's a perfect example. I forget the FTW belt.
Everyone does. Remember Brian Cage? He existed.
He doesn't care about it.
No, it's not like they don't. Did you hear the rant?
No, I didn't hear the rant. No.
His girlfriend was angry. Where is he? He has talent.
Oh, all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe Cage will get his moment, but
he needs something.
He needs to get away from this whole Taz thing. That's for sure. Whatever. But that's a whole different promotion there. We're gonna just Damian Priest should retain. I think that's what they're gonna do with him. So,
and here's like a plus side with Damian Priest. You remember how they were? Remember Bobby Roode? And remember how he came in and it was this big thing and was like glorious and everyone loved him, and it's like now who's Bobby Roode, Daddy? We can't find him. I am happy though that Damian Priest, unlike Bobby, was able to make that successful transition. Because at first it was, you remember, he was losing, and I'm like, what is going on? This is wanky and danky and horrible. But he got over that, and he's making that successful transition to, on the main roster where he is taken seriously. Because remember when he first started, it was like, this is gonna be squash. They're gonna do him dirty. But he surpassed that, I guess, hazing, and it was fine.
I mean, we need to see a larger sample size because we've seen some talents that come out of NXT looking like roses for the first year or so, and then they're forgotten about afterwards. But so far so good. Like with Priest, I remember that that I was afraid that they were using him just to be Bad Bunny's escort, and that once that match at WrestleMania was done, they were going to forget about Priest and just treat him like they treat every other NXT call-up. But no, they've done quite the opposite, and they've properly rewarded him with a pretty solid push, I'd say. I mean, I wasn't really too keen on his feud with The Miz. I thought that was kind of boring. But, more power to him that he's continuing to win, and I think the fans like him too. So,
yeah.
And that's something that's actually been really great to see because, pretty much majority of his NXT run, he was a heel. And I wasn't sure how him being a face would translate, but it's been translating well, and that's great, So, yeah, let's hope that this is the start of something greater for him. But yeah, Priest. Let's move on to let's go with the Extreme Rules match for the WWE Universal Championship. We've got the Demon, Finn Balor. Okay, he's really just Finn Balor with body paint, but we're
Wow.
gonna pretend he's a whole different guy.
Wow.
I'll rant about that in a second, but we got him going up against the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and I'm gonna go first on this one. I like Finn Balor. I'm a fan, big fan. Not a fan of the demon gimmick.
Excuse you?
Did I stutter? I am not a fan of the demon gimmick. What I am a fan of, what I am a fan of is the body paint thing in general. Of this is what he did prior to WWE. He had unique body paint that he did. It wasn't just the same one every single time. Like he's done Spider-Man, he's done the Joker, he's done all kinds of like different anime characters. And I understand that there's like copyrights that you want to be careful of and things like that. Because let's face it, the Demon is really just like a Venom / Carnage lookalike thing.
Wow.
It is. It is. It flat out is.
Wow.
And like,
wow.
For this to be like, oh, I'm even more dangerous now because I got this paint on me. Like it's an old school type of thing.
Wow.
But I'm not sold on it. And I'll say this as I don't want to hate too much on it, because I'll say this. When he was running with that gimmick in NXT and making those entrances, I thought it was badass because I just love the entrances. I love the spectacle of it and all that. But once that bell rings, okay, doesn't matter. He's still the same Finn Balor. You don't really see that big difference in how he carries himself in the ring. Maybe he'll grunt and make these expressions once in a while, but the moveset's the same. He's still as brutal. Maybe I'm not catching it, but just like
I don't think you're catching
it. The thing is this, and this is where WWE messes up. They've already have Brock Lesnar waiting. That match is happening. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. It's going to be for the Universal Championship. So why would I think for even a second that Finn Balor is going to pull off this upset? Why would I even entertain that thought? As much as I like Finn Balor, as much as he deserves to get another shot because he got injured 5 years ago, and then Vince McMahon buried this guy afterwards because he couldn't trust him. Why would I think that now will be the time that they're gonna do it? I don't think right now would be the time. I think it's more likely that maybe Finn Balor will get drafted to Raw. Gag. I hope that doesn't happen. But maybe he gets drafted to Raw and gets a WWE title run. And that'll be cool. I want him to get a World Championship run again, whether it's WWE Championship, Universal Championship. But I have no reason to believe that he's going to pull this upset off. None. I'll be shocked if Finn Balor wins the championship. So I'm going Roman Reigns here. What do you think?
I mean, tell me you didn't grow up with imagination without telling me you didn't grow up without imagination. Sheesh.
Oh, goodness. I grew up with imagination, but my imagination is that it wasn't the same body paint every single time, the same gimmick of the Demon.
He's not the Demon like every day anymore. This is a treat.
No, and I can appreciate that, but again, with Brock Lesnar lurking, convince me that Finn Balor wins this?
I'm not going to convince you of something that's not going to happen.
So then, okay. Why am
I sitting through Carmella and freaking Liv Morgan when WWE is not going to take either one of them seriously? And I can say even more, but I'm not going to because that ends up involving that guy whose name I can't even remember, that everyone can't even stand. The one who was a former wrestler and now he's the announcer that he has been for years.
Corey Graves.
There you go. So see, that's how much I remember everything about him. Jeez Louise. But no, Finn Balor is not going to wrestle, but the magicalness of it all is, remember Finn Balor and the Demon. We rarely see this, and for those who didn't grow up with imagination, this is a character where that's when you have to go into your depths of your soul for. That's the guy you pull out when you really need him. When you, the person, can't defeat the one you're against. You got to call that demon there. You got to get him all riled up, and that's when you're gonna have a crazy match. That's when it's gonna get extreme, which we'll get into the title of extreme without any extreme, but whatever. No, obviously we all know that Roman Reigns is gonna win. Obviously we all know that Brock Lesnar is like, hey, what are you doing? And we have that whole Saudi Arabia match that's going on. That we have the whole picture. They ruined everything with the whole poster for that. And we know that that's going to go on, and barely anyone's going to really watch it, and no one really cares. But whatever. He's going to lose. Finn Balor is going to lose. And here's the thing: I really didn't care because I want a good match, just like when we had the whole Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Neither of us wanted there to be a winner. We all said, like, please let this go to a draw because they were just that good. Now, I'm not saying Roman Reigns is just that good as Finn Balor, because no. But what I am saying is, I wish that there was a possibility where we have just Finn Balor go all out crazy because he's the demon. But we know that it's not, and we know that extreme is just a word in this whole situation. But I do say, and just as much as you do, that Roman Reigns will win. He'll have his little cheer and tribal chief moment with Paul Heyman, and then we'll have dun 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 or whatever the music goes to Brock Lesnar. That was a bad one. I please don't copyright. But Brock Lesnar will come in and F5 everyone, and then Paul E will just be looking there like, oh, I don't know what to do, and hope he doesn't get F5'd as well. But yeah. Even though the whole Roman Reigns and Lesnar is a non-title match, remember, it doesn't make any sense to have Roman Reigns lose the belt and then face Brock Lesnar, and there's no belt that you're fighting for. So even though it's technically a non-title, you should have just made a title match or whatever. This is, Roman Reigns has to be victorious. Or what are you gonna have? Finn Balor come in. Here's not Roman Reigns. Here's Brock Lesnar. He's going to beat up Finn Balor and then beat up Roman Reigns, who's already been beaten by Finn Balor. And then what? Go off to Saudi Arabia for your non-title match? Yeah. No, you got to have the battle of, I don't know, big guys, of muscle mass, and he has to win. Roman Reigns just has to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's my objection with, treating like the demon, Finn Balor, is this big threat and everything. It's not a lack of imagination. It's not that I want things to be super grounded in reality. It's just the timing of it is just so off because you've already introduced Brock Lesnar into the picture, and that's kind of, like I said, spoiled it. You had the crown jewel match already booked.
With him holding the belt.
Yes. It's just like, what the hell, guys? What the hell are you doing?
It's like a poster for Carnage, and we haven't even seen Venom 1.
Because I remember, like, I want to go back again to the draft in 2016. Mm-hmm. It was like the first time they had the draft in years and whatever, and it was a huge thing. And Finn Balor was an early draft pick for Raw, and it was like, we're gonna have a new champion for this Universal Championship, all that. And I remember that Finn Balor pulled off an upset against Roman Reigns on one of those shows, and I was super stoked for him for that. And then with him beating Rollins for the Universal Championship, I was like, wow, they actually went and did it. They went and pushed this guy to the moon. That's what I wanted to see. I was so excited about it. And the thing is that, again, because of the unfortunate injury, that got cut short, and they never ever approached that since then. They had a ready-made story right here. If they did not have Brock Lesnar appear at SummerSlam, if they had just not had that, you have this match. It's a lot bigger deal all of a sudden because you don't have that spoiler of Roman Reigns is facing Brock Lesnar. Now you have Roman Reigns has held the belt for over a year. Is this the end of the line for him? Are we going to come full circle here with Finn Balor, who just had his time in NXT? He's back. He's ready. He's ready to be really main event Finn Balor. He's even bringing out the freaking demon paint like he had before. He means business. It should feel like I want to feel like I want like that, the suspense of disbelief. I want to feel like Finn Balor has a chance. I want to go in like emotionally invested, like this could be it. And maybe in the back of my mind, I was like, if not, then maybe they're saving it for Brock Lesnar. But we haven't seen Brock Lesnar yet. Unfortunately, we have, and they've built that up so much that Balor is a filler for Brock Lesnar, and he doesn't deserve that. What they really should have done, okay, is save this match for after Brock Lesnar, assuming that Roman Reigns is able to successfully retain it. Finn Balor deserves better than this. I like that he's getting a championship opportunity, but the timing again, I'm not jiving with it. So I just feel like it got spoiled.
Very true, and that again just goes with how they are. There's no long-term booking. It's just, here we go. Here's some matches, but we already know what's going to happen because here's a poster that we have before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that sucked. That sucked that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Stop getting in your own way, WWE. Stop doing that. But let's go with the final match. Maybe this will main event, maybe it won't. But I've decided that this one I probably had the most interest in, and this is the SmackDown Women's Championship between the champion Becky Lynch against Bianca Belair. I'll go first on this one, and I thought they did Bianca dirty by having her lose the way she did. It's okay to have her lose to Becky Lynch, okay? It's okay to have her lose, just not in 26 seconds. And it's like, I understand that they did that because they want Becky Lynch to become a heel, and that was a way to get heat on her by having her do that to a really beloved champion. I understand that. The optics of it is just so bad because you have finally, you have a black women's champion that everyone black.
He was so proud.
Yeah.
We did it. We shared racism.
Yeah. Yes. But just someone that even the thing with Bianca Belair is that it's just like she's so universally beloved, and so easy to root for every time out there, and it's like I can understand if you want to have her drop the belt, but just don't do it like that. You had Kofi, another guy who was beloved as champion, drop it to Brock Lesnar in 10 seconds. And again, it's happening to black wrestlers, and it looks very, very bad. It looks very bad. And that's not to say that there haven't been non-black wrestlers that have been squashed before. There's only been so many black champions in the company's history, and they have a very bad record when it comes to this kind of thing. So it's like, it's just like, even if it had been Charlotte that did that to Bianca, I'd be like, okay, it's Charlotte. Everyone, has heat on her or whatever. It was Becky Lynch. We wanted to be happy that she was back. Give us at least a few minutes to be happy that she's back. Why are you going to do that? Now, that all aside, I am digging this heel version of Becky Lynch because I felt like what they tried to do before was just have her being bitter about losing her opportunity to Charlotte and all that stuff. But the fans were like, "You're right. We're rooting for you. You're absolutely right." Charlotte was the female Roman Reigns, over pushed and all that. They have Becky Lynch as the heel in a program where people actually want to root against her because everyone loves Bianca. And that's the thing is that while I don't like that they had to squash Bianca to make this happen, you take that aside, I'm really digging this program. Every time they have an interaction, I'm invested, and I like how cocky Becky Lynch is getting. Gradually, she's getting more and more cocky and things like that, and she's very good on the mic as well. But like with Bianca, it's just like, honey, this ain't gonna turn out the way you think, and all this other stuff. And it's just like it has me thinking like this could go either way. Now, granted, my prediction is going to be that Becky Lynch retains because I don't think that they were going to just have Becky Lynch win it and then have her drop it that quickly. But who knows? Bianca's just good enough that they could have her win and can I don't think this is going to be settled at Extreme Rules. This is going to continue, and I'm okay with that because I like seeing I like just seeing the feud between them. This isn't like other ones where it's like Liv Morgan trying to talk trash and she's like trying to remember the words. This was just like raw. This is like, I'm coming for you, that kind of thing. Like some animosity. Excuse me. So I'm going to say Becky Lynch retains, and I like Becky Lynch. I do, and like I said, like I'm digging where they're going with this heel gimmick. It's kind of like a female Conor McGregor in a way. I'm just kind of talking smack and everything. But it's impossible not to root for Bianca here. So like I'm hoping that I'm wrong and that Bianca wins it back. I just don't think that's the way they operate when it comes to these storylines and all that. So yeah, so I say Becky retains. What do you say?
I say I'm gonna say something, as Rich would say, something controversial. Controversial. Controversial.
Here we go.
Becky wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bianca loses.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha Banks comes out and wins.
Oh, you're dropping Sasha on us now.
Remember, the whole thing is because of Sasha. No one knows where Sasha is.
Right.
We don't know what happened. We don't know what's going on. And this whole situation is technically because of Sasha. Or maybe it was one elaborate plan, but either way, it's executed poorly. And it makes it look like this is all Sasha's fault, right? Remember, she was originally supposed to go out there with the match. After she flaked out on two, I don't know what's going on, so it was like flaked out on 2 matches.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know if it was the panorama or what was going on, but they advertised the match as normal. But instead, they had Becky come in. No problem with that.
Well, they had Carmella come in, and then
they had Carmella. Nobody remembers Carmella. They had Carmella. Sorry, she dies. Yeah. So they had Carmella, and then you have Becky. Now let's be all honest. Is anyone going to remember Carmella after Becky? No. So you had Becky come down. She did the 1, 2, 3, and the whole squash situation, and this was all because Bianca never showed, or how they played it was that Bianca never showed. What happened? Sasha, never showed. So what happens if you have Becky, I'm all these gosh darn bees, Sasha Banks. Banks comes in, and she's like, look, you stole technically my match. And the whole back and forth, well, you no-showed, but you stole it. And she comes in, and she beats her. And then that way, you have Bianca is the champion. Or maybe they make it a triple threat. This is Extreme Rules. Mm-hmm. So she comes in, maybe it's a 3-way now, and she ends up winning.
So let me ask you, if Sasha if she does come in and like let's say it makes it a triple threat, or she challenges afterwards, whatever, is Sasha coming back as a face, or is she staying a heel?
I think either way I think she would be a face. Either way you play it, it's a face, because everyone agrees that they don't like what Becky did with the whole Bianca Belair situation. The match was originally supposed to be Sasha Banks versus Belair. So you have Belair, and I think people want to see Belair also. Yes, we know the whole situation with Becky, but I don't really see them booing Bianca.
But it's Sasha's fault that the match didn't happen.
It is her fault that the match didn't happen. But remember, Becky is a heel. So they're not going to
Right.
make her a
But
face
Sasha's a heel also.
you can't have two double
And
heels.
this is an idea, but I think it's gonna. But I think it goes differently. I think what happens is that Bianca comes close to winning, but Sasha comes out and is like, this is my match. Does a distraction and costs Bianca the match. Becky retains. That leads to Bianca and Sasha reigniting their feud. Because, like, it's more natural that Sasha to be like, this is my match. I was the one that was supposed to have a title match. You know, that kind of thing. That's a heel thing to do. I don't think she's gonna come and be like, well, you screwed Bianca, so I'm gonna, restore her honor. That's not how Sasha's current gimmick goes.
Right.
So, they're gonna keep her. I think they're gonna keep her a heel whenever she comes back. I'm sure she'll be thrust back into the title picture. But I don't think it's gonna be like her against Becky Lynch 1-on-1 unless it's like for an episode of SmackDown that ends in like a no contest or something like that. That's. I mean, I didn't mean to hijack your.
No, I don't know. I'm just, where is Sasha? Because according to Wrestling Inc. that she was cleared for to come. Medically, she was cleared. It wasn't like she stormed off and was like, I'm not showing.
Yeah.
But they said creative had nothing for her.
Interesting.
She had a match.
Well, again, this again goes back to the whole thing of like you don't show up on the shows if they don't have a match planned for you on the pay-per-view. And
but she had a match on the pay-per-view, which was against Bianca Belair.
No, I'm talking about after SummerSlam. Like I'm talking about after that, where like. I don't know. It's I can't explain their rationale when it comes to
it's
these
a
things.
wee bit weird. I don't understand either.
Like, I understand that, like, okay, maybe like because of the virus or whatever, that they're just like, okay, let's play it safe and not have Sasha do this match, but don't just completely take her off TV for the next few months. It's like, are you punishing her for that or something? Like, what is going on?
Again, and then it's basically go back with the whole Keith Lee situation. And we didn't know how dire Keith Lee's health was in. I just hope Sasha is okay.
Yeah.
Either way. But if she is fine, and if the reports are true that she's medically cleared to wrestle, then it would be nice if she came down and surprised everyone.
Well, We'll see. As Richard said, we'll see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see about that.
We'll see. But yeah, so that's the card as far as we know for Extreme Rules. As you said, like, there'll probably be a surprise match or two, but we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know. Is there any closing thoughts that you would like to have before we wrap this up?
Any closing thoughts? I think that they need to change the title of this pay-per-view. I think it's disrespectful. Just, there's nothing. Remember ECW Extreme Rules, even when they did One Night Stand and it was kind of like an Extreme Rules situation, there's nothing extreme about this. I miss the old, and you can't even say, oh, we don't do that anymore, because you have AEW guys almost, bleeding out every month or so with their matches, and I'm not saying, please don't light anyone on fire. Yeah, don't do that. They're a little bit
death matches. Yeah.
No, those AEW is a little too hard to watch. You had Nick Gage, and I'm like, oh God.
Oh yeah.
And I'm literally dying. You got the pizza cutter, and then the whole Domino's commercial. So while I'm not saying I don't want you to die in the ring or just bleed out, don't do that. But it's okay to be gimmicky right now. We need something that refreshing us and making this different than every other pay-per-view we've seen this year. What are we in October almost? So
yeah.
you can have a fire truck match.
Yeah. You have a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules that literally has only one Extreme Rules match on it, which is
what is that?
It's the Universal Championship match.
Yeah, but what's extreme about it? What are they gonna do? Like, I'm
Maybe
gonna
they'll
beat
have
you with
trash
the.
cans on the outside of the ring and candlesticks, which is like every other no disqualification match that they have. Like there's nothing
This
distinctive
is
about it.
a drum
Like
match.
I understand like how you had like the Money in the Bank pay per view. It used to be just one Money in the Bank match, and actually you had
Oh,
one match. Sometimes you'd have two, where it's between Raw and SmackDown, and now you have it the men and women, and that's cool. That you actually have multiple Money in the Bank matches in the pay per view. That's called Money in the Bank. If that's your theme, that should be what happens. It shouldn't be like like TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs. Shouldn't have just one match like that. There should be two or three of them. I
remember that was so bad.
I'm old enough to remember Survivor Series being 4-4 tag matches the entire card, the entire card. Whereas now it's like you'll get one or two of those, and it's a 5-on-5 instead of 4-on-4. Like it's not Survivor Series like in the traditional way, but I don't know, just kind of
Mm-hmm.
ranting here. But let's call this a day.
Okay.
This was fun, and you probably want to go and see what the fire is over there. But but yeah, thanks everybody for watching, listening. Stay stay tuned with the Koalition.com for all your gaming and all your gaming news and articles, wrestling, music, movies, all that jazz. And yeah, take care until next time. Peace out.
Absolutely. Peace.